Thank you for joining us on this special day. I'm going to cry, I'm sorry. We're so grateful for our teachers. Somebody said that teaching is the noblest profession, and I really do believe that. In fact, all of us are teachers. We all think back when you had your children, think back when you visited with a neighbor. We are all teachers all the time. But I want to tell you that these are special teachers that we have here in ElderQuest. We all know that they donate their time, they're put in a lot of time, and it is so exciting to learn. I don't know about you, but I found out that the more you learn, the more you realize there is to learn. And I think that makes life so exciting. And I hope you've enjoyed the classes as much this year as I have, because we have just been so, with COVID and everything, and yet we can't complain about COVID anymore. I can't anyway, because we were able to have the Lamberts join us since they decided to leave Provo and go down to St. George. So good things happen all the time, and especially good things that all you people joining us day after day. And again, we hope that you have enjoyed the classes and the teachers as much as we have here. I jokingly call this Command Central here, Command Station. And there's a few that come in here. And so Gerhard and Margina and I get to visit with a few. And that makes our day when we have somebody new to visit with. And David is joining us and helping us now. And I won't go on any longer, but just thank you, wonderful teachers. Thank you, wonderful people that join in the classes. And I especially want to thank Gwen Anderson for all the work she's putting us together today. You don't know how long it takes to do something like this, to put it together, but she has done a masterful job. So we're going to go ahead and start. If you'll put the one up, and we'll introduce the first three. Okay, we're just starting on our Monday classes. And so Judy Istok will talk about the Turneys, and Nancy Jeffries will tell us about the Shumways, and Marilyn Thompson will tell us about our Lewis class on Monday. Go on from there.
Good afternoon, all of you. I was thrilled to be asked to share about the Turneys class on Robert Frost. But I thought I first would begin by telling you that most of my life has been on a quest for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And so when my good friend Marianne Creer introduced me to ElderQuest, I was absolutely thrilled to find this group. I felt like I had found a gold mine. And when I saw the list of classes and learned as taking these classes how wonderful and exciting the instructors were, I pinched myself. I couldn't believe that I found this group, and I have loved it. And the other thing that has been so rich to my heart is that I have found wonderful friends here that also are bright, exciting, have had wonderful experiences, and the warmth and the friendliness has just been really great since it's only been, I guess, 4.5 years since my husband and I moved to Utah. And I don't remember who the lady was, but I remember after one of the classes, after everybody had been coming up to me and making me feel welcome and a part of the group, I turned to her and I said, I feel like I'm in Relief Society. Just the warmth and the kindness and the friendliness was really important, and it touched my heart. As I mentioned, we moved to Utah from Virginia to be close to grandchildren. And we had spent countless of years in the political world. And my husband came here and started teaching at UVU with political science. And I had just retired from a part-time career in nursing. And so when he came home and told me that the professor's spouses got free tuition, I jumped at the chance to embark on a new degree, a new study. And I decided to do English literature. And as I've gone through these classes, the beautiful poetry and the literature has just filled my soul to the brim. And my perspective in life has deepened and broadened as I've tapped into the thoughts of these greats and the feelings of these greats. So you can imagine how excited I was when I heard that a class on Robert Frost was being offered. And of course, I couldn't wait to take it. And up to that point, I had only known 2 of his works. We had only gone over briefly, The Road Not Taken and The Mending Wall. So I wanted to learn more. And so when I was in the class and the Turneys were teaching, I was not disappointed. In fact, I keep thinking of them as the dynamic duo. They are both equally yoked. They both are bright. They both bring so much to the class. And Judith, I found out that she has had a career in the theater. And one of the things that stood out, and before she even shared that with us, I thought her voice was so melodious and so silky and so interesting. It kept me my attention. And at times she even mesmerized me. And then I realized that she was in theater. So I'm sure along with her acting skills, her voice brought a lot to her characters. And I hope sometime I get to see some of your past taped works. I think that would be fun. And then when Leonard spoke, oh my goodness, it didn't take long for me to understand the depth and richness of his insights and how much he knew about literature, poetry. And I just thought it was infinite in all that he knew. It was just a wonderful opportunity to learn new things from him. And one of the things I found when I looked online about Leonard Turney is that he taught creative writing, and he has a lot of books that he's written. And one of them jumped out at me, and I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to put this on my reading list. It's called Time's Full. And I guess he took his plot, bringing in Shakespeare and some murder mysteries and all. And I love Shakespeare. So I just thought that's something I want to read pretty soon. So not only did the Turneys discuss the poems, but they encouraged thoughts and feelings from the class members. And I thought that was really rich and wonderful, because I'm still learning a lot of the class members. And when you hear their thoughts and feelings, it sure helps you to get closer into their heart and what they think and feel. One of the things that really touched me, and Judith did a lot on highlighting Robert Frost's personal life. And it was so good because it gave me a deeper understanding and meaning to his works. And because he and his wife Eleanor were plagued all through their life by grief and loss. And so I have to say that see, the one class, the class that so far that I've enjoyed the most has been home burial. And when you understand that the Frosts, all of the problems that they had gone through in their life, and it seemed like mental illness was something that kind of ran in their family. Robert Frost's younger sister, Jeannie, and his daughter, Irma, were committed to a mental institute. His son committed suicide, and one daughter died after childbirth. And he and his wife both experienced bouts of depression, which only intensified with the death of their newborn baby. And this poem, Home Burial, I'm sure that Frost gleaned a lot from his own personal experiences that he and his wife went through. And it had a very moving, emotional tone. In fact, I even shed a few tears over it. It really touched me. And it's a monologue between a young husband and wife who have lost a baby, and they both have problems with communicating with each other about that loss because they do it in different ways. And the way he writes the words in that poem, it's my favorite poem of Robert Frost. And what I like about Frost, and I think where his popularity comes from, is that he writes about the actions of ordinary men. He speaks like in a down-to-earth, common folk language. And usually at the end, sometimes you don't know where the poem's going, but at the end, he sums it up with a very deep and thought-provoking message. And most of them hit right to my heart because I've experienced something similar, or I could identify it in some way. And the contemporary critics at the time when he was writing his poetry complained that he wasn't coming into the new modern era of poetry. But Robert Frost stayed true who he was. And one of the things that I loved that I found was that on his gravestone, he had engraved these words from his poem, A Lesson for Today, and it has, I had a lover's quarrel with the world. And I love that, how he stood firm in who he was, and any complaints or quarrels, he looked at it as a lover's quarrel. And I love that. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank the attorneys for the time that they put into these classes and for sharing so much of what they have learned over the years, and to help edify us has been wonderful. So thank you very, very much.
Now you can say.
Yes, I'm next. Huh?
Yes, Nancy.
Oh.
We needed to limit the time so we can get through all 13 teachers, okay? Thank you.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Okay, should I just start talking? Okay. I've been asked to highlight the Shumways, and this is a really fun class that they offer. I learned a little bit about the Shumways, that they have attended Elder Quest classes since almost the beginning of Elder Quest over 25 years ago. They moved to Orem from American Fork in 1997, and they learned about Elder Quest from neighbors, but they weren't able to join until 1999 after they had served a mission to Kenya. Once they started attending Elder Quest, they really liked the literature class and the Shakespeare class. And Marjean's favorite subject has always been English, and she fulfilled her dream to be an English teacher for 21 years. Now she's taught here at Elder Quest for over 20 years, I think. Adil's career was as a social worker, and he's been an avid reader since his childhood, and this good habit continued through his parenting years. He read up to 50 books a year. How amazing is that? That's one book a week. Are you able to hear me? Okay. All right. When the previous teacher of the book review class was no longer able to teach, the Elder Quest president was looking for a new teacher, and Dale volunteered himself and Margene, which isn't surprising with all the reading that he especially did each year. I think in the beginning, they must have done all of the teaching themselves from their own reading, and they also used a book that they called the Book of Great Books, and they employed a method in this class of analysis and discussion. But in more recent years, this class has become a book review class, with some of the class members also presenting reviews of books that they have read and enjoyed. This opportunity to teach Elder Quest has kept them involved in one of their favorite pastimes and has enabled them to meet wonderful friends with similar interests. Reading keeps their minds vibrant and youthful, and with these advantages, they have continued to accept invitations to teach. It really is a great class. They offer a wide variety of genres of books. They highlight a different book each week. Occasionally, they have even done a book review as a reader's theater. They said they have trouble picking their favorites, but they like variety and skillful writing. Really, they do a wonderful job. A very sincere thank you to the Shumways for all you give to make this class such an interesting one. I'm a book lover. I've always liked books. I like Judy am a lifelong learner. I was so glad to find this group after I've even found them before I retired. Cute little Barbara Willis. On a trip, we went to Tuacahn with us Orem seniors. She came up and she said, "And would you like to join us for Elder Quest?" And I said, "What is Elder Quest?" And she told me, and I said, "Oh, it sounds like that's for retired people." Believe me, I'll be there when I retire. And from the fall that I was on my own, I've been coming to Elder Quest and enjoyed it very much.
Thank you very much. And now Marilyn Thomas, we're going to record her. She recorded hers. Play it.
I'm Marilyn Thompson. I'm with Grandkids in Phoenix, but I am delighted to be able to do this Bruce Young tribute. I am a newbie. That this is my first semester with Elder Quest. And I have to say, this class has been like a wish come true. I have read C.S. Lewis for a long time, but I always felt like, as C.S. Lewis called it a dilettante, that I just dabbled and I really didn't understand how things work. So to have Bruce Young, who has taken the time and the effort to understand C.S. Lewis, to understand the timeline and the life of C.S. Lewis, and then to take time to help students to put everything in perspective, it is amazing. It has provided the depth to C.S. Lewis that I never saw before. And it has made me and many other students want to reread them with new colors and new eyes and new doors to be able to understand and put it in perspective. A good teacher will provide just enough information that makes you step back and even revisit a book And so many have said that about books. I think I'm going to have to go read that again. I also have to say, I've been so delighted with the book that I called my best friend Sandy and said, Sandy, you have to take this with me. And so it has been a delight to be able to sit down and say, I didn't know that. We didn't know that. And so it has provided an amazing opportunity for us living in two different cities to be able to come together and see and learn what we didn't know before. One of the comments that Sandy said, Bruce Young, it makes the class pleasant. And although, you know, you can't hear the chuckle at the British humor and that, you still feel it as Bruce is reading his quotes. So, for example, today he was talking about the witch and the lion and the wardrobe and the images that helped or caused C.S. Lewis to write The Witch and the Lion and the Wardrobe. And now we want to go back and reread it to see it from that perspective. So as I've thought about how Bruce also, when people make comments, you never feel like he's in a hurry to get back and explain to you how a man who has Ivy League school degrees from Columbia and Harvard has so much information to share with the world. Instead, you feel like you're having a conversation with him, and that what you have to say was important, and that was an amazing thing. So I wanted to read a quote that he has on his page about C.S. Lewis, and I feel that's kind of a measure of how he teaches and the type of person he is. This is C.S. Lewis from The Way to Glory. It's a serious thing to live in a society of possible gods and goddesses, to remember that the dullest, most uninteresting person you talk to may one day be a creature, if you saw it now, you'd be strongly tempted to worship, or else a horror or corruption such as you now meet, if at all, would be in a dream, a nightmare. All day long, we are in some degree helping each other to one or another of these destinations. It is in the light of these overwhelming possibilities, it is with the awe and the circumspection proper to them that we should conduct all our dealings with one another, all friendships, all loves, all play, all politics. There are no ordinary people. You've never talked to a mere mortal. Nations, cultures, art, civilization, these are mortal, and their life is ours as the life of a gnat. But it is immortals whom we joke with, work with, marry, snub, exploit. Immortal horrors or everlasting splendors. I think that sums up the great experience that this class has been with Bruce Young. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marilyn. And now we will have Ellen Kill talk about our the class on that we just finished today. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I have often said, I'm sorry, there was something on the screen. I guess you can hear me. I have often said that if you asked anyone on the faculty at BYU to list the smartest BYU professors of all time, George Tate would always be mentioned, often near or at the very top of the list. I have no proof for that. It's just my take on it. Because I have always been in awe of my friend George Tate. He and I served in the same German mission in the 60s. Alas, he is nearly 2 years my junior, and so I didn't get to know him well at the time. I was leaving just as he was arriving. But later at BYU, I got to know his future wife, Julie Walton. very well as we shared an office in the German department together as graduate students. And then as they got married, through Julie, I got to know George better, and he really is an amazing person. Just a little bit about him. George graduated from BYU in English. Then he got a master's degree in comparative literature before going on to the Ivy League, where he completed his PhD at Cornell in medieval studies, emphasizing English, Scandinavian, and German. George is the recipient of many academic honors, among them a Fulbright Fellowship to Iceland in 1971 and 72, and a Marshall Fellowship to Denmark in 1973. Now, right there, you can tell that George is several orders of magnitude more qualified than I am to teach you, since I only have some expertise in German, but I'm going to list the things George does. I have no English expertise, no comparative literature, no Scandinavian, no medieval studies, no Old Norse, no Old English, no Norwegian, Danish, Swedish, or Icelandic, very rudimentary Latin in my case, so-so Greek, whereas George is really good at all these things and many more. Also, I didn't have a Fulbright or a Marshall, which I didn't miss until I just realized that I should have just now. George has also learned Russian and Ukrainian while serving with his wife Karen in the Kiev temple, and as well as Lithuanian, I believe if my memory serves, while they were on their mission in the Baltics. I think it was Lithuania. I should have checked with somebody. And who knows what else George is capable of. He's published articles on such demanding things as Good Friday liturgy and the structure of Licknarbraut, an analysis of sophisticated structural forms in early Christian Skaldic, Old Norse, and Icelandic poetry. He's very broad. George worked as an important consultant on a film called Paradise Regained, based on a novel about a convert to the LDS Church, written by Icelandic Nobel Prize-winning author Halldór Laxness, about whom George is an expert. The novel and the film tell the story of an Icelandic farmer who's searching happiness. He encounters a Mormon missionary, is converted, emigrates to Utah, where there was and is an important Icelandic community in Spanish Fork, of all unlikely places. And he eventually returns to Iceland as a missionary. This is an important film. It's in 3 parts. It totals a little over 5 hours. And it's been shown in Denmark, Germany, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, Austria, as well as in limited public showings in Utah, I've been told, because I've never had a chance to see this, so they've been too limited. George retired as a professor of humanities and comparative literature at BYU. And George and I worked together when we were both associate deans of honors and general education programs at BYU. Now, as you know, George got very interested at one point in the Great War, and with his typical thoroughness has left no stone unturned in exhaustively researching all aspects of that key event in our history, including a wonderful 2007 article, which I recommend you get if you have a chance, in BYU Studies. And BYU Studies is available online with no charge. This is an article on death, the Great War, and the 1918 influenza pandemic as a context for Doctrine and Covenants 138. It's entitled The Great World of the Spirits of the Dead. 2 years later, in 2009, an abbreviated version appeared in the Ensign magazine entitled I Saw the Hosts of the Dead. It's a wonderful account of President Joseph F. Smith's remarkable vision in October of 1918. If any of you are studying the Doctrine and Covenants, if you're LDS, and I assume many of you are, it's the last section in the D&C, and you'll really want to read George's articles when you get to it. Now, I think those of you who have been attending George's class on Zoom this semester would agree with me that George has a great talent for teaching the Great War. A metaphor that comes to mind immediately is that George is able to pull out all the stops on the great organ of instructional strategy, allowing us to feel, on the one hand, the most profoundly sad emotions evoked by the war, and at the same time begin to grasp at a high cognitive level the complexities of the situations leading up to the catastrophe and all the registers of comprehension in between. I'm really delighted that George could be with us in Elder Quest this semester. I have taught the Great War myself many times in an honors course we used to call the pen and the sword. And I used some of the same materials George uses, most notably the poetry of Wilfred Owen and the War Requiem of Benjamin Britten. But this segment of my course, which touched on the Great War, was only a pale down payment on the much fuller treatment George has shown us this semester. It's been really an unforgettable, once-in-a-lifetime privilege to learn from you, George. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we will have Bruce Merrill talk about the Damons.
Hello, everybody. I kind of like to introduce myself to the Elder Quest group. I'm a retired, very retired dentist, and my wife and I moved here to Provo in about 2002, and we have 6 children and 14 grandchildren, and we have enjoyed our time here in Provo. And I have worked with Gerhardt in the Utah Valley Technology and Genealogy Group for ever since we moved into the ward here. I originally thought I was going to talk about World War I, and Gerhardt mentioned that he got the original DVDs from George about Vera and her family and their activities in World War I. And so Gerhardt got the PDF file of all of those sections of Vera and her family, and I was one who made the DVDs of those, and was able to get to George the 5 sections of that presentation, and so he has them all, and Gerhardt put in the subtitles, and so I've enjoyed those and kind of looked ahead and saw some of the things towards the end of that series of tales. But anyway, on to the World and I. And I have enjoyed this presentation, being kind of stuck at home here since the pandemic. I appreciate the opportunity to hear about everything that's going on in the world, and on this day and this season, and I've enjoyed those meetings along with the other presentations from Elder Quest here. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce, very, very much. Now we'll have these two go, one right after the other. Anne Minear is doing Lambert, and Carol Hinckley is doing Johnson and Smith, the Shakespeare class.
It's my privilege to talk about Neil Lambert. I met him quite a few years ago on a personal basis, but as an instructor, only about 5 years ago when he did a unit on wilderness. And he covered a book that happened to be one of my favorites called The Big Sky. And in fact, I have in my living room a painting of Boone and Teal-Eye from that book, a genuine oil painting. But I discovered also he liked another author that I like, and that is William Faulkner. And in addition to that, I discovered that Neil is an excellent teacher and an excellent storyteller. He opened my eyes to David McCullough and all of David McCullough's writings. And this book, The American Spirit, which is full of the things we need to learn today. America, in some measure, has lost sight of how blessed we are, how we got to be a country, and how grateful we ought to be. He's written, McCullough has written many other books that I'm sure you're familiar with. The Wright brothers and John Adams are especially good. And we're loving our study of this book. And I recommend Neil to you as a teacher, and I'm grateful that he's willing to spend his time.
Well, I want to compliment all the teachers. I think it's just so wonderful that we are so blessed to have these great retired teachers teaching us. I remember when I graduated from college, I looked around the auditorium and I thought, oh my word, I am so dumb. Everybody in this room knows things that I don't know. And here I'm going to go out into the world with some little bit of education that says I know something and I know so little. And one of the things that I really didn't know a lot about in my college education was English literature. And when we retired, we were living in Seattle and we moved here. And one of the reasons that I wanted to move here was to be close to BYU, where I could study more English and poetry. And this Elder Quest group has been so amazing to me to allow me to get more of the things that I wanted to do without even having to go to BYU. It's great. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Anyway, the class that I am and my husband really enjoy, besides all the others, but one of the ones that we really enjoy, and we've been taking this class now for about, at least 10 years. In fact, I was looking through the Shakespeare plays, and I counted 37, and I marked off 25 that we had read in the Shakespeare class. We love to read the Shakespeare class because then we're prepared when we go to Shakespeare at Cedar City in the summer. And so I thank Glenn and Dave for their wonderful expertise. They both taught high school drama and they both taught Shakespeare, and they have a broad understanding of these writings, and they're so wonderful in sharing them with us and reading together. We just have a lot of fun, and I just thank them so much. I know what a lot of work it is to prepare for these classes, whenever I prepare a book report, it takes me a whole month to prepare a book report. So I know the kind of effort that it takes for you, teachers, to prepare for these classes. And I thank you so much for your time and your expertise and your knowledge that you're so willing to share. And thank you, Dave. And thank you, Glenn. You're wonderful. Thank you for sharing. And I have to tell you, a few years ago, we were going to Shakespeare with, it was a BYU TV group. I think we'd made a sizable contribution to BYU TV, and we were invited to go to Shakespeare with this bus tour of people who had contributed to BYU TV. And they had a questionnaire on the way down of Shakespeare memorabilia. And I won tickets to TourCon. And I was so thrilled because I guess I know a little bit about Shakespeare now. Thank you, Dave and Glenn. Appreciate you.
A big shout out and thank you to all the teachers and to all of you who volunteered to be able to sing their praises. Thank you so much. I get a chance to talk about Don Norton in the class on temples. And I could give you his resume, which is tons of academic, ecclesiastical, literary, and personal achievements, but that doesn't matter. When you're in a class, you want to see how this impacts you and your heart. So here's the thing that I got to say about Don Norton. You're not in that class for 5 minutes before you can immediately sense this is a scholar, and he's got a heart, and he's got spiritual depth and strength. And that's what gets me more than his resume. He also is somebody who's bought thousands of books, but not only does he have books, he's read them. And he's a #1 resource on the works and writings of Hugh Nibley and many of the other ancient religious scholars. And for me, taking this class has opened up many levels of spiritual and personal understanding. So much so that I have a much greater appreciation for the world that we live in, the world we came from, and the world that we hope to go to. But I do want to thank Don Norton for his immense talent in being an articulate communicator, one who hardly ever says And if you are able to listen to him tell a story, you can see that he almost is proof of having been in drama classes all of his life. Because whenever he reads something, he knows how to emphasize the right words. He's very fluid in his ability to communicate important priorities to us. And I just can't really tell enough good things about our Don Norton. I hope he continues to be with us in the coming semesters, and the rest of you have had a chance to be as enriched as I have. Thank you. Joanne has a video for us.
When I chose to follow Alan Keel into the history of the Rhine River, I soon realized that this wasn't just a course in the beautiful, spectacular scenery on the countryside or the river itself. In our class, Alan travels beside us through all the historic influence that peopled that Rhine River, from Attila the Hun through Charles the Great. This river played such a part in history, in all the history actually of Western Europe. It was majorly a shipping line and also served as the border for the whole Roman Empire for a time. The Romans, as well as Charles the Great, tried to colonize the countryside, and they did so effectively for a while. But those who settled along the banks of this magnificent river colored history and culture as they fought and reclaimed again the ownership of that river. Each medieval castle and those spectacular rocks have a fable or a history, and Alan could have explored all that with us if we had time. But travel time is short, and so we were thrilled to take the tours that he gave us. The Rhine has such a great economic and cultural and historical importance to all of Europe, and the military tactics were directly affected by whichever country had claim on the Rhine River and the countryside beside it. How lucky we are to be able to travel, even if it's just virtually. I love learning about history. And with Alan, you don't just see history, you feel it. I felt the rigor of the people that lived there, almost felt like I could see them as they would line up against the side of the river or the countryside. Alan, one of his great gifts, I think, is that he sifts masses of information and he brings the most important gems to our attention. I look forward to the next few classes and any that he would teach in the future. Thank you so much, Alan.
Okay, I get to talk about our youngest professor of Elder Quest, Alicia Christiansen Adams. She doesn't want to say she is, but she's the director of the Senior Center here at Provo. And she's teaching us a class, Health for Seniors. It's not a class of just lecture. It's an opportunity for her to share her expertise of geriatrics and having fun. We've done such things as learn to do chair yoga. Had a chance to learn some great, not just exercises, but also the gift of happiness, the happiness principle of being able to truly enjoy what we're doing in life. She gets to bring a new vitality to Elder Quest for each one of us as we go through our classes. And I hate to say this, but guess what? She gives us homework. She actually tells us, okay, before the next class, I want you to go out and find something to be happy about and write about it. Take notes, keep a journal. Now, for me, I don't keep journals, sorry, yeah, doesn't happen. But it's a fun class. It's an opportunity to get involved, to enjoy life, to see what it was like 30, 40 years ago for many of us. So I want to thank Alicia for what she's done, for her opportunity to share her expertise, and hope that she'll be able to continue to teach us not only this semester, but into the future. Alicia, thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much. Now we need to go back and have the 3 teachers that we had last fall that aren't teaching this semester. Mary Ann Creer will tell us about Jeannie and Robert Griffiths. And then Fran Reiser will tell us about Brownie. And we'll end with Cynthia Dunford telling us about Dave and Charlene Wilson.
Hi, I'm Mary Ann Creer, and I'm paying tribute to Jeannie Griffiths. I'd be glad to pay tribute to Robert Griffiths as well, but I'd have to do more research. In cultural geography, Jeannie Griffiths taught us several lessons. At the beginning of each class, we tracked COVID statistics. Moving to maps, we learned that a country's access to a waterway is crucial to its economic development. In each country we visited, we applied this criterion. Being landlocked negatively affects prosperity. From Silver Spring, Maryland, Jeannie taught us about Africa. Some interesting facts. Liberia was established as a settlement for freed American slaves. Landlocked Swaziland is smaller than New Jersey. Africa will double its population by 2050. Africa's high birth rate is linked to adolescents giving birth. That fact resonates with me. For 18 months, my husband and I happily worshiped in a South Africa Township LDS congregation. One of our young women confided, sadly, that being raped at age 14 is the norm. While viewing a photo of an enticing clothing market in Asia, our teacher Jeannie revealed in a classic statement, My husband doesn't know how lucky he is that I am not a shopper. Oliver Wendell Holmes states, a mind stretched to a new idea never goes back to its original dimension. Jeannie, thank you for the big stretch. All artists, teachers deserve kudos for doing the same. Our ability to build bridges by Zoom would be impossible without the superb tech support of wizard Gerhard Roof. Thank you, Gerhard, for connecting us in challenging circumstances. Elder Quest, thank you for rescuing our sanity in this winter of COVID. Thank you for making a difference in our lives.
It is my pleasure to pay honor to Dr. Gary Browning, who has become a very dear friend, and we all call him Gary. For the last 5 years, he has introduced us to the best in Russian literature. And it's been such an inspiration for us, as he has taught us to look beyond the words that we're reading and gain a feeling for what we are reading and studying. Gary has always been very interested in Russia. And as a freshman student, when he was at BYU, he took a Russian literature or a Russian language class. And then after that, he served a mission in Finland, which is right next to Russia. And he was so pleased that he had the opportunity to meet some Russian people. And then after his mission, he returned to BYU, where he majored in Russian studies. After that, he went to Syracuse University for his master's degree, and then on to Harvard for his PhD. And his first professorship was at Bryn Mawr College in Eastern Pennsylvania. Then from there, he came to BYU, where he continued for the rest of his career teaching Russian literature. And we have been the recipients of his knowledge and his ability to inspire through the literature he has taught us. The very first year, we started out with Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Leo Tolstoy is known as one of the best Russian authors. And we had the privilege, because of the wonderful Gary Browning's knowledge, of hearing about Anna Karenina. And I have to say, a few years earlier, I had presented Anna Karenina in the best books class with the Shumways. And everybody said, oh, you did such a good job. And I felt good about it. But guess what? When Gary Browning taught, he told us that there were so many things that were foreshadowing things that I never, ever had a clue about. But I pay tribute to him for pointing things out that I never, ever saw. The next time, we did The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Again, a very well-known, famous, favorite author in Russia. Then, what a treat it was to read Eugene Onegin by Alexander Pushkin. It is so amazing to me. It is a novel, but guess what? It is written in verse. I think there are 14 lines to each verse. And it was absolutely amazing. And thanks to Gary Browning, we were able to read this book, and he explained it and we felt it. Then we did another Leo Tolstoy book, Resurrection. That was last year. And then this year, well, last fall, we did the author Anton Chekhov, who is called the very best short story author in Russia. And we did Ward Number 6 and other stories. So I just need to say what a treasure it has been to have the opportunity of being in a class with Gary Browning, who has become a very dear friend. And I want to also thank his wife, Joanne, who has been his helper and has assisted him in the class. It has been an absolute pure joy to be in a class with Gary Browning. Thank you so very much, Dr. Gary.
Okay, well, if you've made it this far, our time is almost up. I'm Cindy Dunford and hope everyone can hear me. I add my thank you also to all the incredible teachers. Just an amazing experience to study and learn with you all. And I'm pretty sure I can speak for everyone.
Wait,
Oh,
Cindy.
is Cheryl going to talk? Oh, okay, Cheryl, there you go. So my tribute is for Dave and Charlene Wilson. Nope, she's back in. Am I good to go?
Yes, you're good to go. Sorry. Just in the camera.
It's just technology. So do you remember last September when it was announced that our Elder Quest classes would be held on Zoom? Well, I don't know how many of you were familiar with Zoom. We'd done it a little bit through the summer, but I thought, well, this is going to be an experience with Zoom. And Dave and Charlene posted a video to YouTube teaching us how to Zoom and join a Zoom meeting for the very first time. And it was called Cozy Grammar Step-by-Step Guide to Zoom. I don't know how many of you watched it, but the host wore a comfy sweater and there was a fire in the fireplace and soft piano music playing as the host took a step-by-step on a Zoom tutorial. And somehow that made doing Zoom less intimidating. At least that's how I felt. Dave and Charlene's class, Welcome to the 21st Century, This is How It's Done, focused on simple and easy to understand technology for seniors. We learned about energy efficiency for our homes and navigating social media, some lifestyle ideas, and using our smartphones, our tablets, and our laptops. They posted videos on YouTube for us to watch, and they shared insights and updates on the ElderQuest Facebook page and via email to help us master this ever-changing world of technology, which can be so daunting for our seniors. They discussed making our homes more comfortable and how to enjoy life and make ourselves as smart as our grandkids. They were even there to help us understand technologies in ways that would help us connect with the world, even as we continued to stay home and stay safe. So here are a few more topics they covered in addition to the above and all that Zoom training. They talked about best smart home devices for seniors, best mobility aids, internet archives, the weatherization program, the HEAT program, the Mountain Land Association of Governments free resource, Medicare information, how to fix and find air leaks in your homes, and there were home cleaning and hints and hacks, which are shortcuts. So lots of great information. And in addition to even all of that, they frequently posted to Facebook a number of fun and informational articles for us to read. And I pulled out just a few. There was an article about World War II. There was a post about eagles and crows. Some of you may have read. There were jokes and there was fun to keep us entertained and smiling. There was creative education during homeschooling. There was information about flu shots. There was a fun Calvin and Hobbes comic, fitness videos, how to wear a mask properly, Dr. Seuss style, favorite holiday recipes, Veterans Day information, the Utah Valley app, coronavirus updates, the beautiful ElderQuest Christmas program from the Encore Choir at the Leadership Academy. And last but not least, the YouTube video entitled Brilliant Inventions That Exist Only in Japan. I know you're laughing, Dave, because if you have not seen that video, you need to go to YouTube and watch it. It is great. But on a personal note, I appreciated the positivity that Dave and Charlene showed throughout their class, their postings, their discussions, with always encouraging words such as life is good. Keep on dancing, keep on smiling, which we all needed during this last year. And being able to stay connected during this COVID pandemic via technology has just been a lifesaver to us all. So thank you, Dave and Charlene, for holding our hands and leading us through the early learning stages of Zoom. Thank you for showing us that technology is not something to be feared, but can be learned. And with patience and practice and perhaps a little help from our family and friends, we can all live a more productive and enriching life. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Let's give the presenters a big hand today. Let's give our teachers even a bigger hand, okay? Okay, we have one more thing to do, and that's give a really, really, really big hand to Gerhard. We wouldn't even be functioning if it weren't for Gerhard. And please, let's all give him a standing ovation, okay?
Woo! Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And if you didn't have a wonderful lunch prepared for yourself today, please go out and get yourself a wonderful lunch. And again, thank you for joining us. We wouldn't be functioning without you wonderful people. Come in. I'd love to refer to you as our Hollywood Squares over there, but we only have 3 more weeks. I can't believe it. But again, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will have another thank you for the teachers. We're just trying to organize it right now. So watch your mail, okay? Again, thank you.